Officer Harry Dunn.
Called the vilest racist name.
We heard how he was called the N-word more than a dozen times.
The N-word.
The N-word.
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 The N-word.
N-word.
The N-word. The N-word.
The N-word.
Several times.
Repeatedly. 15 times.
A dozen times.
The story that I wrote back in October of 2023, entitled January 6th and the N-word that wasn't, I actually got something wrong.
Everybody, this voted for Joe Biden.
This guy sounds like Jussie Smollett.
He's the most popular Capitol Police officer in history.
You've testified before Congress in the Oath Keepers trial. You were awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal by President Biden.
I wrote a book. Harry Dunn probably changed the outcome of 50 elections.
I'm gonna try to get through this without crying.
Could we expect a run from you in the future?
You can't keep what occurred on January 6th a secret.
If you disagree with what happened, then I don't know what to tell you.
The story that first made headlines is now a obviously disprovable lie.
I left the force after more than 15 years of service, so that today I can announce I'm running for Congress. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded. Well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody? That prompted a torrent of racial epithets. One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo, fucking."
I have always had a problem, first of all, with his story about this chanting of the N-word at him.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
The first time that Harry told the N-word story was in an anonymous interview in BuzzFeed.
Hey, everybody, this voted for Joe Biden.
The next time that story was told in a New York Times interview, the story escalated a little bit more.
20, 30, 40, 50 people that were there said this N-word voted for Joe Biden.
The story eventually was told to the FBI.
Blaze Media acquired access to 2 FBI 302 interview forms.
What's called a 302, and this is basically the FBI special agent. It's in the agent's words.
They're marked unclassified. However, they're under the court's protective order, preventing them from being made public.
Those FBI 302s never been released publicly, by the way. He relayed the story with more specificity by saying that the person who began the chant and led the protesters in the chant was, quote unquote, a Hispanic lady wearing a pink MAGA shirt. In the second FBI interview, Harry changed it and did not include the Hispanic lady designation, just a lady in a pink MAGA shirt.
His new memoir is called, you can roll it, Standing My Ground.
When his book was released in October of 23, 2 different times and 2 different accountings gave the same story about this lady leading the chant wearing a pink MAGA shirt.
Pink MAGA shirt.
A lady in a pink MAGA shirt.
A woman in a pink MAGA shirt.
Later in the book, when he told the story a third time, he actually said the lady was wearing a pink MAGA hat. For some reason, his editor did not catch that.
The story that first made headlines is now a obviously disprovable lie.
He was called a racial slur more than a dozen times.
The racial slurs he endured.
The racial slur.
The racial slurs.
A racial slur.
A racial slur.
The N-word.
The N-word.
The N-word.
The N-word.
The N-word.
I would think that the editor of his book or his ghostwriter would have caught the fact that at one point he was calling her a woman in a pink MAGA shirt. And then later in the book, they describe it as a pink MAGA hat.
The biggest problem with the story is that this is the most video recorded event in history.
In the 2.5 years since the events of January 6, 2021, with tens of thousands of hours of audio taken and analyzed from open source cell phone video and DC Metro Police body-worn cameras, nobody has produced recorded evidence to corroborate Dunn's story.
It's always important to tell the truth and be honest about what happened.
In fact, the entirety of the extensive hours of video that Blaze Media has examined revealed no such event.
Now there's video evidence completely contradicts the narrative of Harry Dunn.
One other thing that's interesting to note, it was in his FBI interview that he says that this event happened there with the Oath Keepers. Well, we know that that didn't happen, and somebody must have helped him remember that incident, because nowhere else in his public tellings, in his book or otherwise, does he conflate the two or put the two together. Between his lawyers, his trial prep people, his ghostwriter, his editors, they seem to have tried to make this story a little bit more believable, because they knew that there would be so much emphasis on this part where he claimed that the woman in the pink MAGA shirt would be there with the Oath Keepers, and there's no video evidence for that. When he told the story in future tellings about the pink MAGA shirt lady that started the N-word chant, it was not in association with the Oath Keepers part of his story. Somebody tried to clean this up.
He ignited the racial narrative by saying that he was called the N-word repeatedly. Obviously, you weren't with Harry Dunn at every moment, but was that your experience? Did anyone throw any racial slurs at you on January 6th?
None. And
you hear from other officers that maybe had that experience?
No.
It's really important to understand that in multiple interviews that I've given and in multiple conversations that I've had with, whether we're talking about other reporters, journalists, or the sedition hunters, I've always said it's highly unlikely that someone, someplace, somewhere didn't call somebody the N-word in a crowd that size. In a crowd that size, there's always going to be a racist element. But the one thing we didn't have was actual audio video proof of a Capitol Police officer being called the N-word by a protester. Until now.
There are people out there helping the Department of Justice and the FBI find the insurrectionists. This group of people call themselves sedition hunters.
These so-called sedition hunters are amateur detectives who come from all walks of life.
I have a grudging respect for the sedition hunters. Some of them are very, very good at what they do from a technological standpoint, facial recognition, as well as comparing videos and doing the hard work, investigative work. I don't necessarily like what they're doing. It gets into that good German territory.
Who are these people?
I'm not one given to all of the conspiracy theories related to January 6th. And as a result of that, I do have conversations, both publicly and privately, with some of those quote-unquote sedition hunters. One of those sedition hunters came through on the 3rd anniversary of January 6th by revealing the fact that in a November 3rd, 2021 court filing in the federal government's case against Christopher Rohrell, that there was an assertion by the government that they had recovered video from his phone and captured him verbally taunting police officers. In a private message exchange that I've had with a Netherlands-based sedition hunter, she provided me with the unedited video of Rohrell's verbal tirade.
You! You!
According to this sedition hunter, former Capitol Police officer Harry Dunn told her that the officer seen on the balcony holding an M4 rifle standing to the left of the group of other officers is the actual officer that Dunn referenced in his book, who had been confronted by insurrectionists and told, "Put your gun down and we'll show you what kind of N-word you really are." She identified that particular cop only as Officer S. This unnamed sedition hunter also shared that Dunn himself is not seen from any camera angle during this time, because this was also the moment that Dunn was getting other officers aid.
It was the most photographed crime potentially in American history.
According to the metadata screenshots supplied by the Dutch sedition hunter, this took place at approximately 1:22 p.m. Eastern Time. Given the crowd noise and the distance between Worrell and Officer S,
Don't do that!
it's really not likely that this officer heard the N-word that was being hurled at him. How could anyone even hear that up on that upper terrace? She also promised me that if I would write a retraction or an update to our story about the N-word that wasn't, and reveal that there was an N-word that was, she promised me that she would provide me additional photography and videos of that pink MAGA shirt lady, and in fact said that when I saw her with the Oath Keepers that I would probably faceplant. She did come through, but it was not a faceplant moment. In the photography and the videos that she sent, we see the pink shirted person, which is actually someone wearing a pink hoodie. It's not a MAGA hoodie. It's not a MAGA shirt. There's no MAGA markings on the outfit. And in fact, it's not a lady. It's actually a man. The other problem is there's no pink outfit in the small rotunda at the time when Harry Dunn encountered the 4 Oath Keepers in that location. There is, of course, the other location, which was in the large rotunda, and this was when Jessica Watkins and other of the Oath Keepers took their famous selfie, and the pink hoodie guy is seen standing near them. But that's not the episode that Dunn relates, and this did not happen at the time when Dunn was in the small rotunda having his encounter with the Oath Keepers. From the available video and audio evidence, even new evidence that's just recently been given to Blaze Media by no less than the sedition hunters themselves, it still does not corroborate his story.
Why is telling the truth hard?
As I reiterated in my story about the N-word that was, I would like to issue another challenge. By all means, we are looking for the truth here at Blaze Media. I have also still failed to find audio-visual evidence of now congressional candidate Harry Dunn's claim to have had, in his own words, 20, 30, 40, 50 people chanting at him, "Boo effing N-word." If the sedition hunters, or anyone else for that matter, can provide for me that video, I promise to post it. I'll write a story about it.